Sure. So people accuse me of being a COVID denialist, or I don't think it's real. I don't think anyone dies from it. That's all nonsense, Joe.
Yeah.
COVID is real. It it emerged from. We can talk about where it might have emerged from earlier this year, maybe in late 2019. It's killed a lot of people. Um, it's contagious, and it's been a problem this year. It's been a significant problem.
Yeah.
It is not worthy of the response that we have had to it. I believe lockdowns have been a mistake, and we can go into all of it, but we have overreacted in an extremely dangerous way this year.
I believe we've overreacted as well. And I think that in particular, one of the things that disturbs me the most is that there's been no accounting for the damage that has been done by forcing people to shut down their businesses. And the only thought has been making sure that the ICU beds are open and that, somehow or another people are able to get treatment for this. I've openly criticized the fact there's been no discussion whatsoever about getting healthy. Like this, no one's encouraging you because they're worried about being called a fat shamer or some other nonsensical term.
Well, I mean, I think it's much worse than that, because if you remember back in back in March, we were told 15 days to slow the spread. Let's not have the hospitals be overrun. And at some point, maybe it was in April, maybe it was in May, somehow this became no one can ever get sick and die from COVID. It is wrong that this disease exists, and we have to do.
Wait, what? Oh my God. Dude, what is wrong with these people, dude? What the fuck? First of all, yeah, fuck it. I'll say it. Yes, no one should die from preventable diseases. If the best way to prevent a disease.
OMG America, throw these people. OMG America, throw these people. OMG America, throw these people.
Sorry, I just saw my Twitter trending, and it just blew my mind. Trending in the United States is he's real, trending with the gloves and fingerless gloves. I was like, what is that? I clicked on it. Fans of Minecraft YouTuber Dream are stunned after he shares a photo of maybe himself rocking fingerless gloves, leading many to believe he's a real person and not a poorly drawn illustration.
Happy to be here on month 3 hassle.
Bro, I can't take this. Dream is actually a real person with hands and a body and face and not just a green blob in Minecraft. I'm losing. He's going to do a face reveal in Mr. Beast YouTube Rewind. I can't even gamble because I lost all my points here and Dream doesn't stream ever. I'm going to lose everything. It's terrible. Someone needs to tell me, like, are Zoomers fucking all right? Like, are they all right, or is this just like a meme? Like, are they memeing about like how fucking crazy this is, or like is this literally something like, if I had, I don't know, like a 12-year-old, I assume those are like the type of fans that Dream has. But if I had like a 12-year-old son or daughter, okay, and he or she comes up to me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why are you so excited? And she's like, oh my God, Dad, I'm literally losing my mind. Like, he or she or they. Okay, dude, stop. Please. Let me just like get one fucking take out before you guys like. I hate it. I hate it so much. if she came up to me and was like, oh my God, Dad, I'm losing my fucking mind. This YouTuber I watch is a real person. This YouTuber I watch is a real person and not just like a figure that I have seen on camera. It's like a real human being with like hands and arms and fingerless gloves. I'd be like, no, I failed as a parent. I have completely failed as a parent. And no, the fucking rage isn't fake. The heart rate monitor is like delayed. If you haven't noticed by now, holy shit. That will be a real concern in the future with AI. This already happens on Twitter where 21% of accounts are bots and not real. No.
Do everything to stop it, no matter what the consequences. And you mentioned businesses. Businesses are important, but to me, what's even more important is what we're doing to our kids.
Yeah.
What we've done with school closures, what we've done with normalizing the idea that being outside with your friends is dangerous. We are screwing over our kids in the worst possible way.
I think we had an idea of what COVID was going to be. I don't know. I certainly did for the first few weeks. I was like, this is going to kill everybody. I thought I was going to kill like 10% of the population. I was really worried about it.
Yeah.
I remember being in the supermarket stocking up and thinking, Jesus Christ, like this feels so crazy. But I also remember thinking it was going to last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And now here we are, still reacting this way. We're now deep into January, or deep into December, almost into January.
Yep.
A lot of my friends have caught it, including young Jamie over here. Jamie beat it in a day. Tony Hinchcliffe has it now. He was sick yesterday, and today feels good. I mean, this is the case with so many people.
What I don't understand is, like, why does it take someone you know dying for people to take this shit seriously? Like, brother, it doesn't matter if the homies get it and they're fine. Like, clearly there are people who get it and they're not. So why not be fucking safe? Like, Republicans are so strange. Like, conservatism is such a weird brain disease where, like, you can never take something seriously unless it literally impacts you personally. Okay? The entire worldview is built on top of exclusively taking things seriously when it touches them in some way. Object permanence is a liberal concept, brother. Exactly.
2 months long.
People. Whereas if they got the flu, I know a lot of the same people that have got the flu, they were knocked down into the dirt for 3 or 4 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. It's different than we thought it was going to be, but we're still reacting like it was the same thing. And then there's this fear porn that everybody likes to peddle. It's just
literally can say the same about both sides of the political spectrum. No, you can't. If there's one thing you can fucking get annoyed at with, like, liberals, it's literally that they fucking mind other people's businesses too much. It's not a fucking five-head both sides issue at all. As a matter of fact, liberals to a goddamn fault. What the fuck are you talking about?
this weird thing where everybody wants to think that, you know, if you...
Except for the black conservatives, they don't give a fuck and make that money? What do you mean? You're about to have more COVID deaths and combat deaths in World War II, you fucking chose? I mean, to be fair, they get mad at BLM and shit that literally has nothing to do with them? What do you mean? Like, liberals and their political activism, in a lot of instances, revolve around allyship. What the fuck do you mean? As a matter of fact, one of the things that conservatives constantly dunk on liberals on is like, why are you a white person involving yourself in like Black Lives Matter? You know what I mean? As though like white people cannot protest police brutality against black people, and police brutality still impacts white people as well. But like, even if it just impacted black people, like, as though white people can't fucking be on board with that. I was definitely in a liberal mind prison, but it looks nothing like what you described about conservatism. I'm so exhausted with this argument. Just look at places around the world that has hard lockdowns and look at the numbers. It obviously works. Yeah, I know.
You catch it, you have a 10% chance of dying, or the sky is falling, and it's weird how people want to pretend that it's still what it used to be. And they want to say, you should think about this because 300,000 Americans have died. And you want to go, stop. No. 300,000 Americans have died from COVID that also had a lot of other stuff.
How many?
Okay, this is insanely dumb. If 40% of the country,
and there is no point in trying.
If 40% of the country has already some form of illness or heart disease or just if 40% of Americans already have something that would complicate their situation if they got COVID, then that's it. Then that's us as a population. That's what we are. If we have comorbidities, then we can't be talking about. If we have risk factors that are a significant percentage of the population, then that's who we are. We can't be like, oh, well, if we were healthy, it wouldn't happen. That doesn't work that way. That's not how that is not how public health works. Okay? That's not how this works. If we can't fucking magically wave a wand and make sure that no one is obese and make sure that no one has diabetes or make sure that no one has any sort of fucking other illnesses asthma or numerous other complications that could have arisen as a consequence of environmental racism, like black and brown communities being built next to fucking power plants and shit. Okay? When you can't do that, when you magically can't fucking wave your wand and solve all those problems, then you have to deal with if you're a public health expert, deal with all of that. Okay, that's who you are.
Doesn't the UK have a mutation of COVID and they had lenient lockdowns? Doesn't that contradict Joe's whole argument?
And
many people have died just from COVID, and it's a relatively small number in comparison.
It's
like a bad flu year, right?
So it's complicated. Here's the thing, and I don't know if you this is, as I said, I got all this stuff for you, but
7 months.
The booklets, especially the first one, which is about a death counting, how we count a COVID death. I go into this in detail.
Okay, well, let's talk about that right away.
So, okay, here's the most fundamental fact about COVID that the media doesn't report accurately: how stratified the risk is by age. So you mentioned people who might be overweight or have diabetes. All that stuff does add to your risk. What really adds to your risk is age. And people don't really, I think this is true of almost everybody, people don't really have a good idea of what risk is, right? So if I say, it's riskier to be old and have COVID than to be young, you might think, okay, it's 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or 5-to-1. It's kind of like normal risks. What are the odds that
Yeah, no, people were straight up hiding that truth, dude. You're right. Absolutely. No one was talking about how much of a larger risk you face if you are older. Thanks, dude.
The Jets are going to beat the Rams, 1 in 10, last week, and that happened. The Jets beat the Rams. This risk is not like that. It's somewhere between 100 and 10,000 times the risk of an older
age.
So maybe 75 versus 25, 80 versus 25. If you look at who dies from this, it is overwhelmingly people over 65, 75, 80.
Here's the problem with this. It's a novel virus. Even our vaccines are not 100%. We do not know enough about the long-term complications of this novel virus. Many people who have gotten it at younger ages have also reported that they have some cognitive functions diminished as a consequence of their COVID, like brain fog. So you don't know. So why take the fucking risk? You just don't know. It's not only dying that is a problem. Okay? People have been permanently disabled as a consequence of getting COVID. Also, I was memeing. No one has hidden the truth about how much old people get clapped up. Since day one, people have been literally calling it the boomer remover. So you get, at the very least, since day one, we've known that as a consequence of getting walking pneumonia, you can have permanent lung damage. Okay? Your lung capacity reduced since day one. And that's back when they thought it was like a respiratory illness, or that it only hurt your lungs and not like your entire nervous system.
Okay, the median age of death in European countries, or which are a little bit healthier than the U.S., is in the low 80s. But that doesn't really tell you the real risk, because what you need to understand is that only 2 or 3% of the population is over 82 or 83.
Now, what about people like, there was that guy who's a Broadway actor who was a young, healthy-looking guy who got sick and wound up dying from it.
So the problem is, again, people look at public health not as a collective for some fucking weird reason in America, because they're brain dead Americans, okay? Being an American is the worst brain disease you can have. It is literally fatal. It is a fatal fucking flaw, okay? Sorry, it's just the truth. Source, I myself am an American. And the reason why it's so fucking fatal and so fucking brain dead is because you need to look at public health as a collective. It is deeply selfish to assume that, like, you're only wearing a mask, brother, because you're not supposed to get COVID from other people. Like, no, dude, you wear a mask because you don't know if you have COVID. Okay? It's pre-symptomatic, which means you might not know you have COVID, and you're literally giving it to other people. That's what the mask is supposed to prevent, not you not catching COVID, which the mask can stop, or at least lower the amount of viral load that you can potentially fucking get. But the most significant thing the mask does is block you from giving COVID to others. Okay? So it's a selfish thing to analyze COVID from the point of view of like, oh, well, was it going to kill me if I'm healthy? Or it's an incredibly selfish way to look at it. Like, it's like, oh, well, I have to wear a mask because, like, it protects me. Well, masks don't even work at protecting me. It's like, no, dude, it's for everyone else. You dumb fuck. How do you not understand it? It's a massive spreader. That's the problem. Because it spreads to you, and then it spreads to 2 other people, and then it spreads to 3 other people, and it spreads to fucking 16 other people, and then it spreads to 32 other people, and then before you know it, grandpa's fucking dead. Okay? We don't operate with this survival of the fittest mentality. We do not operate with the survival of the fittest mentality. We're human beings. Like, if you eat meat, you're probably a fucking speciesist. Okay? So you're better than the rest of the fucking animals, brother. So if you understand that part of our existence on this planet and the way that we exist is literally about dominating nature, then stop behaving like a fucking animal and acting like we should have a Darwinist approach to healthcare. Oh, well, they're dying from COVID, so, because they're unhealthy. Oh, me healthy. Me won't get COVID. Me fine if I get COVID. It's like, yeah, but how many fucking people did you give COVID to in the process of getting COVID, you stupid fuck? That's the point.
So that's going to happen. So there's 2 issues. First of all, that happens to people with the flu. I can point you to stories from 2018. Young, healthy teacher dies of the flu. It just was never.
I agree with you on literally everything about COVID, but that vegan jump was weird. It's because people who are non-vegan, carnists like myself, operate on this idea that we are better than animals. Okay? We are not animals, even though we are animals, right? As a species, we think that we have cognitive capabilities that are more advanced than animals, that we have morality, we have souls, we believe that we have souls and shit, right? We are moral agents. Animals are not. We dominate nature. Animals do not. Our existence literally revolves around dominating nature for generations. So what the fuck is this naturalistic argument? That's why it's a fucking fallacy.
Reported nationally this way.
Right.
That's A. B is, if you look at those cases, oftentimes there's weird idiosyncratic stuff happening.
Also, I forgot to run another ad, right? Top of the hour, every hour, 6-second ad break. Here. Doing that right now. As a moral agent, my choice now is to run a fucking 1-minute ad break right here. Thank you, Slam X Bars, for the 10 tier 1 gift subs.
Of which the number one thing is a lot of those people were put on ventilators very early. They were put on ventilators and they never came off. We're not having that as much anymore. And if you look, the average age of death is actually creeping up now. It looks like. And okay, so that's one, is that the risk.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
The ventilators?
Yes.
So what happened?
So what happened was in March, especially back when everybody was terrified, there's something called a nebulizing procedure. So there are procedures where you're inserting tubes into people and it releases a lot of aerosols from them. And the fear was this is going to get aerosolized and the nurses and the doctors are all going to get sick and die and we're going to have no medical staff. Ventilator avoids that problem. Okay. So the feeling was, let's ventilate very early. This is a really serious disease. Let's get everybody we can on ventilators. That's when, remember when we needed 100,000 ventilators, 200,000 ventilators?
Wait, what? No, this is not a comedian. This dude like wrote for the New York Times as well. Wait, first of all, this is fucking crazy. It's actually true. Both parents are doctors and told me this. Why don't they realize once hospitals are full, people start dying a whole load of preventable ailments? The reason why they thought, like, the reason they were going heavy on the vent, is because they originally thought this is the only way to fucking help people. The only way to, like, give them a shot. I even talked about how vents have pretty much a 50-50 chance of survival. Like, ventilators can... It's a conspiracy theory that ventilators kill people. No, it's not a fucking conspiracy theory. When you get intubated, your chances of survival are it's a fucking coin flip at that point. That's not a fucking conspiracy theory at all. It's an invasive process. But if you're at that level, then, the likelihood that you're going to die without it is also pretty fucking high. It's not even 50-50. It's even lower than that. Ventilators are very aggro. No, people think that, like, oh, you get vented and then you're out. Like, you're in and you're out. No, it doesn't work that way. Like, a lot of people think that ventilators are like, they believe that modern medicine is just like a fucking foolproof 100% salvation. And that's not the case. But it's weird that Joe Rogan has, this dude went on a media tour a year or two ago telling everyone weed makes you violent. Oh, we are very familiar with that, praise Treesus. We know that this dude went on a media tour telling everyone that weed makes you violent by picking anecdotes from different parts, different parts of the world where, like, a guy was smoking weed and then did some violent things. Who's he? A doctor? No, he's some fucking he's a crank, dude. That's what he is. When people code, we perform CPR on them, even though the survival rate is incredibly low for a lot of patients, but it'd be a lot fucking lower without CPR. Yeah.
That was the idea. Okay, we're going to ventilate really early. Turns out that was a terrible idea. It turns out that, as Elon Musk likes to say, your lungs, if you ventilate too early, it's just like a meat bellows, and you can blow out people's lungs.
Wait, dude. Elon Musk is not a dude I would ever bring up in a fucking conversation about COVID, though, considering the fact that, talk about people not knowing what was happening with COVID. Dr. Elon Musk was unironically one of the people who was so fucking wrong that, like, we still meme about it. Come on, give me the tweet. Let's just pull it up right now. Yeah, notorious Dr. Elon Musk. Hey, brother, remember... Wait, this idiot's take from 5 minutes ago? Clear from the European all-cause mortality rate, which comes in faster than the U.S. data and is less inflated by lockdown deaths from overdose homicide, that the fall wave is significantly overcounting COVID deaths. That looks especially true in the UK, which no surprise is a massive testing similar to the U.S. UK has averaged about 400 to 500 deaths for almost 6 weeks, with only a small rise in all-cause mortality, about 1/5 its spring peak. Wait, but the United States was not overcounting deaths; it was undercounting deaths. Oh my God, is he also... I can't believe this dude at some point actually reported for the New York Times. Oh, here, this is the Dr. Elon Musk, by the way. Based on current trends, probably close to 0 new cases. No new domestic cases of corona in China. Do you believe it? Yes. Based on current trends, probably close to 0 new cases in the U.S. too by April. Motherfucker said that on March 19th, dude. Oh, he knew, dude. He knew so well. Dr. Elon Musk, I love it. I love hearing from Dr. Elon Musk about COVID.
If you overventilate, and it looks like that happened. I will tell you, not that we don't use ventilators for COVID, but right now in the United States, I believe there are about 8,000 people on ventilators.
Can I stop you for a second? Yes. Like meat bellows, so like bellows, like a fireplace bellows,
yes.
Right?
So you're just pushing this air in, and like if you push it in at pressure that's too high, you can just blow out people's lungs.
So you literally destroy their lungs.
Yes, we did that with people, and it became clear.
How many people? What amount of people? What number of people? What percentage of people that got vented or got intubated and were put on ventilators were going to survive otherwise, and their lungs exploded? Like, what do you mean? Oh, we did that with people. I need to know what percentage of people got this procedure because people were fucking scared and they did that. Also, ventilators are a very delicate fucking scientific tool of medicine. It's not like a fucking crank that's constantly pumping air into your fucking oxygen or into your lungs. Like the entire purpose of a vent, and not like one of those other forms of I don't know. There's like numerous different things that you can use, but like the entire purpose of a ventilator is literally to figure out what your regular oxygen levels are so we can help with it. How stupid. Yeah, nurses have no idea how ventilators work. They just crank the valve and hope the lungs don't explode. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and by the way, this guy does not have any qualifications for what he speaks of, and neither do I. The difference is I don't fucking take my I don't take my information, my resources. My sources of info aren't fucking Dr. Elon Musk, who's not a doctor, by the way. It's just other medical experts.
It became pretty clear pretty early on, and they tried.
I'm a doctor. Ventilators are absolutely the last resort in treating COVID. They're dangerous, and the news have shown them as something incredible. Yes, ventilators are dangerous. I have talked about ventilators and how dangerous they are in the beginning of COVID. If you go all the way back to the beginning of 2020, you can hear and watch me talk about how ventilators are seen as like a fucking foolproof magical thing, when in fact they are incredibly fucking dangerous. No one is saying that they're not dangerous. Part of the reason why ventilators are so dangerous, however, or the mortality, the fatality rate of like being after you get fucking put on a ventilator, is literally because of the position that you're in. If you're that far gone, then yes, ventilators might not help you.
to stop doing it, and they have stopped doing it. You know,
so that's why they were saying that 80% of the people they put on ventilators wound up dying. It's not just that they were so sick by the time they got to ventilators, they were dying.
That's right.
And they couldn't save them. It was just that the ventilators themselves
did damage. That's
wow.
Correct. And I don't think that actually too many people would argue that even in hospitals. I can point you to stories that have been written about this, and I can point you to sort of in-hospital discussion of this. Again, there is a role for ventilators for people who really cannot breathe on their own. But this early ventilation that we used back in March and April killed people. And some of the people it killed are people who were younger who probably would have survived.
My friend Michael.
Dude, this is fucking insane, dude. I mean, this is charlatan level, dude. Like, come on, you gotta at least give some data, dude. Holy fuck. Why is he just saying this stuff? By the way, congratulations to Spotify and YouTube for like allowing this to fucking continue as well.
Yo was young when he got it, and he was really beaten down. He did a lot of traveling. He flew to New York. He did morning radio, the whole deal, flew back, drove to Vegas, visited his family, and then drove home that night, and then did a bunch of auditions in LA, and then got sick, real sick. His doctor didn't put him on a ventilator because he said, if I put you on a ventilator, your lungs are going to stop working, and you're going to die. And he's okay today because of that.
Yep.
But,
bro, on what planet, on what meathead planet are these fucking dingoes living on? Where they think doctors are like, oh, dude, we love venting people. Okay? By the way, there are literal fucking, thank you, capitalism, clinics in Florida that do specialize in this, where they will actually fucking overvent. That is unironically a problem in certain places. Okay? Where they have like literal clinics that exclusively fucking vent people. So there is a financial incentive to put people and intubate people. Even then, though, it would be medical malpractice. So obviously, there is a fucking limitation. You don't just decide to vent people when they can fucking breathe on their own. The entire reason for a fucking vent is literally because, like, oh no, you're gonna die without it. You literally, you're what is the term? Is it oxygenation? Like you can't. Your lungs are not pumping enough fucking oxygen into your body on their own. So you need the vent.
he's a young...
Like, why do you gotta go? Why do you gotta go to so many different fucking lengths just to say, like, I swear, bro, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. COVID is not as deadly, bro. It's the doctors, bro. It's the ventilation. It's medical malpractice, bro. Like, why do these fucking brain dead dildos go to such insane new fucking places that were previously unforeseeable by chipping away at, like, the number, which is never going to be a 1-to-1, 100% accurate number, right? Like, of course these are estimates. When we look at COVID deaths, of course they're fucking estimates. You either overcount or you undercount. Looking at the CDC numbers for comparable deaths in that year for the past fucking 5 years, the death rate is ironically matching the number of fucking COVID fatalities. Okay? That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Chipping away at that information by saying, like, well, actually 3 people died because their lungs exploded on the vent. Or, you know, actually there's a lot of overdoses at this time because of lockdown measures. Like, chipping away at that with, like, you know, 10 fucking deaths here or 1,000 deaths there, even 10,000 deaths total is not going to remove the reality that hundreds of thousands of people have died And when adjusted to previous fucking years, hundreds of thousands more people have died in this time frame than other years. Okay?
Healthy, robust guy.
Ventilators ain't your opioids, dog. U.S. medical system can be assholish, but ventilator misuse is minimal because we don't have enough vents. We triage people because of that. Yeah. The reason why vents the reason why vents were a big deal in the beginning, did the media hype it up? Did the media misinform people a little bit? Maybe. The media also fucking hyped up wrong shit all the time in the beginning of the COVID pandemic. It's a novel fucking virus. But this notion that you look at the raw data, this notion that you can look at the raw data and like, oh, thank you, Mom. This notion that you can look at the raw data and find out that like, you know, maybe 1,000 people died for some other causes and they were like logged incorrectly or some shit is so psychotic. The numbers are not on your side. Okay? The numbers are not on your fucking side. Defending the media. Ha 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 ha. Wait, what? No, I'm saying that they got shit wrong. Of course they did. You know who fucking purposely got shit wrong when they had information that countered the messaging that they were putting out? The fucking White House. Fuck you mean?
And he got it and almost died. I mean, he was really, really sick for about 2 weeks.
But he recovered,
yes,
right? So,
he did.
So again, we're not saying this disease isn't real, and we're not saying that some people, unfortunately, aren't going to have these bad reactions to it. But you know, back in March, maybe he gets put on a ventilator and maybe he dies.
Well, he got it very
early. So that was so he was fortunate. He had a doctor who was smart.
Yeah. Catch new episodes.
What is this? They're doing an Alex Jones level bullshit job, but there's 5% truth to this, but the rest is bullshit. It's actually the opposite. We are underestimating the death count. Likely, it's probably greater than what we are saying, and now it is now considering excess deaths. Yeah, I said that already. We are undercounting COVID deaths currently, and we have always undercounted COVID deaths. I took a course at the University of COVID Immunology. What he's saying is a kernel of truth. Part of the reason venting is so dangerous because it's extremely strenuous on the lungs. The interior of alveoli are laminated with mucus, and the breathing cadences that ventilators were set at early on in the pandemic, which is the same use for most cases of pneumonia, turned out to be delaminate, aka blow up the alveoli and do more harm than good. The whole wood was giving some people are going to die too bad. Highest percentage increase in the deaths in the U.S. year over year since, wait for it, fucking 1919. Yeah. Before putting someone on a vent, they put on a less invasive BiPAP ventilator. I've been on it, and it was brutal. This was from a bad asthma attack. They hope not to intubate with a ventilator because it's so hard to come off a ventilator and survive. I know. It is a horrible fucking procedure. It is very difficult. And the numbers are not great on venting people. Literally the opposite of what he's saying. Ventilatory mechanics in the early versus late intubation, a cohort of coronavirus disease. 2019 patients with ARDS. To the editor, COVID is associated with a range of presentations. Like, look, because of the fact that this was a novel virus, scientists, of course, got certain things wrong in the beginning. They tried everything. There's a trial and error. Scientists are not magicians. They are not. More than 2,600 patients found an extraordinarily high 88% death rate among COVID-19 patients in the New York City area who had to be placed on medical devices to help them breathe between March and April 2020. Okay. So? I don't understand. We report the ventilator parameters and lung mechanics of consecutive early and late intubated and ventilated patients with COVID-19 ARDS by descriptive analysis at a single urban academic center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Why does everything have to be black and white for people? They can't for a second deal with any sort of uncertainty and anxiety. You aren't going to do a radical therapy to healthy people. Of course it's going to have high death rate. That's like saying people on chemo have a high death rate. No shit. Yeah. It frustrates me really fucking bad. One of these people just say, yeah, let old people die. I don't give a fuck. Just be honest. Well, the reason why they don't want to be honest is because you sound like a fucking asshole. That's why you have to hide your true thoughts on this matter. It gets even worse in the next vid. Really? There's more COVID denial?
Experience.
And if you look at the bill that was passed, I mean, I went over it last night, and there's a lot of weird shit in there. Like, why are we giving all this aid to foreign countries in this bill? Why is there a part of this aid bill that makes it a felony to illegally stream?
Okay, like, he's both right and wrong on this. It's because it's not just a fucking COVID relief bill. It is an omnibus. It is a must-pass proposal that will fund the government and numerous other operations, and that's precisely why the COVID bill was tacked onto it, because Republicans are fucking demons who would have never given COVID relief to American people if it wasn't literally passed through on a must-pass bill.
Dream. Like, how does this happen? They sneak things into these fucking bills. These people.
That's a different bill? What? No, it's not. COVID relief is tied to the government funding bill. COVID relief is on top of a government funding bill. It is a must-pass proposal. I literally gave you the exact reason as to why they had to do that. It is not a different bill. It's the same fucking bill. It's glued on top of one another. The 6,000-page bill is not just for COVID relief. It's for numerous other things, including funding the fucking government.
People are monsters. They really are. Like, this should have been a real clear-cut thing. Aid to people that have lost all their income because of this, and they need a stimulus. The fact that they added in a felony provision for people who stream movies and profit from them. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is...
You're not going to hear me disagree. Look.
Why is Pakistan getting money? Why is Israel getting... Did you see it, Jamie? It's bizarre.
Well,
I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't understand how this got agreed to.
Well, what happens is the idea is this thing's going to pass anyway, so you help out your favorite lobbyist, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you sneak something in.
He's right about that.
Yeah, that's clearly how it goes.
That is how it works. That's how.
Here's what I'll say. Okay,
that's at the heart of omnibus proposals. Like, that's literally how that works. So he's correct. Thank God he fucking said one correct thing.
I tell your children actually matters in this debate. Okay. I wrote this book, and you can say
that's the pot book for folks.
Yeah, you can say, like, this guy, like, he doesn't understand. A lot of people just like to get high and they can handle it. It shouldn't be criminal. And minorities bear the burden here. It's wrong. Let's legalize. Okay.
That's not what he said, though.
Totally reasonable. And by the way, alcohol kills a whole lot of people. It's legal. It's advertised on TV. It's legal. The rules should be the same. I totally get that. Okay. If you read the book, it's about something else. It's about this is psychiatrically harmful to a lot of people, and we're not talking about it.
Yes.
And by the way, there's a downstream violence that comes from that sometimes that we're not talking about either. Okay.
Yes.
To me, those things, if you read the book with an open mind, are pretty factual and inarguable. It doesn't mean, by the way, that you can't then say cannabis should still be legal. You can read the book and agree with it and say, but you know what? It should still be legal for those other reasons. Fine. That is not the way the book was treated last year. Okay? It was, you hate black people, you don't understand science, you're cherry picking, go to hell. Okay?
But that's literally what he was doing. I mean, it's an entire book. Luckily, we know more about the book because of, shouts out to Fabian Syndicalist. The only reason why I know about this person or his fucking anti-weed book, and I don't even fucking smoke weed, by the way, anymore. Like, I sometimes do once a year on 420 just for the funsies, but the reason why people got mad at this book is for those very same reasons. Like, he's literally cherry picking instances where, like, someone was high while in the process of, like, committing a violent act. And it is the exact same thing that prohibitionists argued for in the past, and he is arguing for it in a similar way. He might act like he's not saying, like, oh, I don't want, like, I don't want weed to be outlawed or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you can just fucking cherry pick data and make it seem like weed is making people fucking commit violent crimes. Wait, is he saying weed perpetuates violence? Yes.
So when I saw this happening this year with COVID, and I saw the New York Times where I used to work, and you know what? People can yell at me for saying I used to work there, but I worked there for 10 years and I was a really good reporter there, and I'm not going to back down from my credentials because I am a good reporter. You can say, you know what?
Interesting that Joe Rogan, on the one fucking issue that he is at least, like, somewhat knowledgeable on, is not even pushing back on this. That's very strange. You got to be a real pussy if this is, like, the one thing that everyone knows you for, and you've been a champion of like decriminalizing marijuana, and now all of a sudden, because this dude is saying the right things, just, heterodox thinking, brother, I'm, like, thinking outside of the regular scientific consensus on COVID, he doesn't fucking say shit.
Like, lockdowns are necessary and we need to protect these old people, and you know what, we can't let the hospitals get overrun. But if
I'm not mistaken, he's had him on and debated him on the weed shit before too, right? Remember, that's the one issue that he fucking pushes back on. If I'm not mistaken, he literally had him on and debated him in the past. But in this situation, in this circumstance, he's giving him something that he wants. So he's just not going to fucking say anything.
If I present evidence to you that's contrary, don't just shout at me that I'm an idiot and don't know what I'm talking about, okay? It's not going to work. It didn't work with Tell Your Children, and it's not going to work this time, okay? So, and what I recognized was that, unfortunately, and in sort of the elite levels of the media, the Times, the Washington Post, NPR, CNN, the groupthink is overwhelming.
Yes.
It's overwhelming on cannabis, and it's overwhelming on all these woke progressive issues, and it's gotten much, much worse since I left the Times 10 years ago. And I don't know what's going to turn it around, okay? And it has terrible effects. Let me give you one.
When I think about wokeness, I think about, the coverage of a novel virus that's, killing hundreds of thousands of people. That's what I think of. Like, does the New York Times engage in like annoying weaponization of fucking identity politics from a liberal point of view? Absolutely. Is the New York Times woke otherwise? Of course not. Are you fucking crazy? This is the New York goddamn Times. When you work there, they were like, they still have op-eds and they still have fucking coverage, even in their hard journalism side, that is entirely fucking skewed against certain things, like whatever the American State Department believes is best for America at the time. Like, American imperialism is absolutely advocated for and legitimized by the Gray Lady. Okay? They have great fucking journalists on top of that. I have friends in the New York Times that are right there. They have great op-ed writers as well, some. But, to assume that, like, the New York Times is, like, woke or some shit is so fucking stupid. They are center-right, like most of media is. They are center-left on certain issues when it comes to social policy, especially if it's an opportunity to fucking wield that social justice cause as a weapon against whoever the fuck they have deemed their ideological enemy, that does not fit that narrow confine of neoliberal ideology. But to say that they're fucking woke is silly. Very silly. Scroll Chatterino down, Hassan? It is scrolled down.
One example, okay? We should all want to know where this virus came from. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat, liberal, conservative. I don't care what country you live in. You should want to know if this is the result of a Chinese lab accident. And there's some evidence.
Literally all media is mostly left-leaning. What? Wait, what are you talking about? The only Quincy? Well, the media is not mostly left-leaning. It is entirely dependent on what issue they're covering. And no, they're not fucking mostly left-leaning. Do you see insane amounts of coverage on Medicare for All and how good it is? Or do you think that, like, liberalism is left-leaning as an ideology? Like, who's left-leaning with respect to who? Like, Nazis? Left-leaning with respect to who? Like, literal fucking fascists? Yes. The New York Times, in most circumstances, are not literal fucking fascists. So that must mean that they're leftists. Rupert Murdoch owned channels come across as biased towards the left in comparison to American media. Like, they are some of the most chud fucking media outlets out there, the ones that are owned by Rupert Murdoch. And even their journalists look like fucking progressive activists in comparison to American media. Just because they're to the right of you doesn't mean they're center right. It just means they aren't extreme left. What is extreme left? Appropriately covering the scientific community's consensus on issues like climate change, or appropriately covering the scientific community's consensus on issues like fucking how to deal with COVID and a novel virus? Is that extreme left? Are you fucking brain dead? Are you that brain dead? Everything is extreme left then. Yes. Covering factually accurate things to the best of your ability is extreme left, and yeah, they are extreme left. You know, extreme leftist Dr. Antonio Fauci. It's ridiculous, dude. What is extreme left, dude? Look up Medicare for All and its coverage on most American media, and you will recognize where the American media's ideological positioning is. They are still, after all, very much beholden to those who fund them. Like the insurance industry, like Big Pharma. They buy ads. They have columnists and writers that are otherwise lobbyists for these corporations. Of course they're not going to be extreme left. Like saying big tech is extreme left. They relentlessly covered Bernie Sanders as like a fucking diehard communist who fucking wants to reanimate Che Guevara and unleash him on on Central Park, like on bankers or some shit. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, the media is so left, it's an extreme left. What the fuck, dude? Their coverage over issues like every bit of mainstream media is center right at best, with some of them leaning into the lib idpol stuff, but it's neoliberals all the way down. Yeah.
We can talk about that later, okay? And you should at least want to know that there's been a complete independent investigation into this, okay? This thing has messed up the world in a mammoth way this year, okay? And at the least, we should want to know where it came from, if it did come from some kind of accident. I'm not saying the Chinese released it intentionally. I'm saying there might be evidence that there was an accident, because
dude, liberals are a fickle beast, okay? Centrists, liberals, conservatives, just like neoliberals. A fickle beast that can be duped so easily with aesthetics. Like, as long as you have the credentials, as long as you've, like, at some point worked at the New York Times, or if you're Tim Pool, you worked at Vice, you have the liberalism credentials, right? And as long as you behave in your speech and your rhetoric is clean, then you can pretty much get away with just asking questions on so many different things. And this is precisely why Richard Spencer used to get so much coverage from mainstream media. He would go, remember, a literal Nazi, Richard Spencer, would go on mainstream media outlets and did as late as like 2019, I think is the last year that CNN hosted him. So as long as you just say, well, I'm just raising some questions, you know, there's no evidence for this, but I'm just saying, like, there's a probability that China did potentially bioterrorism, I guess, or like leaked it out of a lab in Wuhan. There's no difference between what he's saying and what Alex Jones says. He just doesn't sound as much like a fucking crank. So people look at this and go, wow, that guy, I mean, he is raising some good questions.
if that happened, we better make sure it never, ever, ever happens again.
It's a very strange thing to me that people don't want to even investigate it. They don't want to look.
This is, again, oh my God, ape brain. No, of course people investigated it. There is a literal reason why people immediately were like, no, this is a natural virus. And that reason is they could not find a genetic footprint. There would be a marker if it was in any way, shape, or form natural, or not natural, sorry, built in a fucking lab. What the fuck? No, they did do that, by the way. They did actually look into this. This notion that no one investigated this virus is so psychotic. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Look at it, and I think they're afraid of racism or something. There seems to be some sort of indication that there's a victim blaming thing. There's an aspect to it that also is anti-Trump.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's anti-Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
What happened in March was the progressive media. First of all, they were terrified because of what was happening in New York with. Seemed to be happening in New York.
Yeah, the media. I believe you, but can you pull up a source? Sure. COVID not. I don't even know what this is, but the intelligence agencies concur with the virologists vigorously debunked new study on the origins of the novel COVID. The latest allegation from a team of researchers from Britain and Norway, where people thought that this was like man-made or argued that they could be potentially man-made. Okay. It's not. Where is the study? I remember. I mean, here, this is a better one. Here's how the scientists know that a coronavirus wasn't made in a lab, because there are markers that you can easily fucking find if it is man-made. It's like a signature. It's impossible to fucking hide that shit. Okay. Since the first reports of the novel pneumonia in Wuhan, Hubei province of China, there's been considerable discussion on the origin of the causative virus, SARS-CoV-2, also referred to as COVID-19. Infectious with blah, 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 blah. There are notable features, mutations in the receptor binding domain of SARS-CoV-2.